Hi guys, it's Kelly, and I am here with the new Whimsy Stamps release, and this is a stamp called Maya, and it's by Miran. I think I'm saying that right. Anyway, it's a super cute fairy image, and here I'm going to use my Misty to stamp it because it's a red rubber image, but I always forget to take out that foam insert. So while I had cleaned off my stamp, I remembered to take out the foam before I stamped it. And then I just kind of angled it because I wanted her to look like she was descending from the sky with her gift. We're going to do a sky background behind her. So I'm using Memento Tuxedo Black ink to stamp that because we're also going to do some Copic coloring. And there was something underneath my door, so I had to do a little bit of adjusting there. The only clean part of my desk is the part that you see on camera. The rest of it is just like a crafty struggle ensued. It's not good. So I stamped it one time and I didn't get a really good image. So I ended up stamping it twice. I cut out a mask from some copy paper and I just used Tombow Mono Multi Glue on the back of it. I'm going to do some distress inking to create that sky. And the second balloon is not attached to anything else in that image, so I had to cut it out separately, but it's a balloon, not terribly intricate, so certainly not a big deal. We're going to start out with some tumbled glass distress ink and a ink blending tool, and I'm just going to rub that on starting from the top, working my way down to the bottom. These little fairy wings were kind of finicky, and they kept moving on me. So what I've learned is basically just go with the grain of it. So the way that how do I want to say this? The way that the wing is, instead of coming down against where it's very tiny and very detailed, I'm starting on the actual fairy mask and then working my way up. And this will keep it from pulling down. I haven't found a mask, whether it be the ones I make myself, like this one with the Tombow Mono Multi Glue, or a masking paper that I've tried. I haven't found a single one that doesn't move with those finicky little pieces. If you have one, by all means, please leave me a comment because I would love to know what it is. All of them seem to move on me. So I switched over to Salty Ocean just to put in some more pops of a blue sky. And then I'm going to do something you guys have seen me do before if you watch my videos. This is just like $2-3 white acrylic paint that I got at Walmart a couple years ago. I'm going to give it a little spray with W+9 shimmer spray after I've shaken it up because all the shimmer sits on the bottom. So if you want the shimmer, shake it up. And then I'm just going to use a old paintbrush to just pounce it on. Now I realize that in the video it is kind of hard to see. First of all, I'm not working on watercolor paper, so I'm not using a ton of moisture. Second of all, the mask that I'm using is just copy paper. So again, you don't want to use a ton of moisture or go over that area a ton of times because it will soak through and get onto your image that we're trying to mask. But this just gives it a little added dimension. It's hard to see in the video, but it dries. If you use just acrylic paint, it dries matte. If you use it with the shimmer, it gives it a little bit of shimmer, and it just looks like layers of clouds versus just distress inking. So I'm going to go ahead and remove my masks and then get started on the Copic coloring. This is my favorite combination for skin tones. So I have a lot of Copic markers. I don't have all the Copic markers, but I have a tendency to stick with the combos that I love. Somebody had asked me about trying different skin tones. I told them that I would try that. I have not yet. That's my bad. So one of these days I will, I swear. So when I was doing this, you know, I like to start with my lightest color. The reason is I put my shadows in with my lightest color because then if I want to change my mind, I can, which I did. On her arm, I originally put the shadows on the bottom side of her arm. And then as I was thinking about the way her hair looked, and where her face would be darkest, I decided to switch that up and put the shadows on the top side of her arm, but nobody will ever know the difference because I laid them in originally with my lightest color instead of my darkest. If I had gone in with my darkest originally, I never would have been able to change it. I would have just been stuck with whatever I had put down. The way that I do it is I usually just do little lines. Excuse me, why is my voice, like, why? Why, do you know? I sound like I've been screaming at a concert all night. And realistically, my night consisted of card making and making dinner with my family and cookies with my son. There certainly wasn't any screaming going on, so not really sure what's up with the voice. But anyway, I am using light pressure and flicking motions to put down my color. I try on my first pass through to just do lines of color, and then I kind of build it out as I go back through them. So lightest to darkest, darkest to lightest. When I go darkest to lightest is when I add in more color, just because I'm a little hesitant when the first time I go through, because a lot of times you're seeing me color these images for the first time. I don't practice beforehand. This is just what it is. You've heard me say it before. I'm lazy. I'm not doing it twice. So you can get it on the video the first time, and if it's not perfect, then you get to see that too. So I added a little bit of RV00 to blush her cheeks. And I started with this color combination, E40, E42, E44, and E47 is my darkest. So here you see me using the E40 to put down her hair. Right about that point, my son woke up from his nap. And then when I came back to do it later in the evening, I grabbed E42 and started with that. So that E40 didn't even end up getting used, guys. I ended up just using E42 as my lightest color. Here's where I realized that I've been using the wrong color. And here's where I decide that I don't care. So I'm going to use the E42 as my lightest color instead of the E40, which means she's going to be a little bit of a darker brunette, but no big deal. The way that her hair is drawn is very wavy, so I'm doing something different than I normally do. I'm just shading in and the valleys. I just went directly into the valleys and started shading there to kind of give those waves some motion. I have seen Marika from Make It Crafty. Her YouTube channel is Crafty Bit. If you haven't seen her videos, by all means, go check those out because she's fantastic. She does this technique way better than I do because this is my first time trying it. I don't think it came out bad, but I think I learned a couple of things along the way. But hers is definitely far more polished, so go check that out. So here I just was doing the same thing with the flicking motions, but it was very awkward for me because I'm more comfortable flicking away from myself, and I felt like I was just like flicking one way or the other. I kept having to turn the paper to get the flicking motions to go, or the color flicks to go both directions, which was a little, I guess, different for me. But I think that this style of hair, the way that it is drawn, is a really good way. This is a really good way to color it. I just feel like maybe I need more practice, which again, I mean, isn't anybody's fault. We all need practice. We all, get better with doing that. Like there, that E47 just looks weird. So because I started with the E42, I decided to bring in the E49 as my darkest color. And so I'm just putting that where her hair would be the darkest. So at the roots, where her flower pin is in her hair. And then in those waves, I'm adding just and the underside of her hair, like behind her head, would be darkest. And so then in those waves, I'm just adding a little bit of the E49, not a ton. Because the highlight's going to be on the right side of her head. That's how we colored her shadows as well. So there's going to be a very large highlight there, and then on the top of her head, and anywhere those peaks are in her waves. So we're just going to go through and do the light flicking. I know that a lot of you have talked about the speed at which my videos are. This is at about 2.5 times the normal speed at which I'm doing it, but hair takes a really, really long time, guys, and this video is still, I don't even know, like 15, 17 minutes long, even with me speeding it up. So between the editing and uploading and then people who actually might want to watch it, I try to keep them relatively short, like under 20 minutes. Copic coloring is just time consuming. So my apologies if you don't have time to watch all of this. I don't blame you. But for those of you who are learning and actually looking for techniques and to see how somebody's doing it step by step, grab a cup of coffee and enjoy, because I don't really cut anything out. I do speed it up, but I don't cut anything out because I personally, when I watch YouTube videos, do not like when I see somebody go from point A to point E and I don't have any idea how they got there. So I felt like it was kind of just one note there where her waves were. So I'm going back in with the E47 and adding in just a little bit, some darker pieces to kind of break that up. I wanted her dress to be like a hot pink color, and this color combination is a great way to do that. The RVO, fill in your blank there, 2, 4, 6. I almost busted into a cheer there. Did you hear that? 2, 4, 6, 8. Anyway, so those are really good to get like a bright hot pink. But if you've watched my videos before, you know the RVs kind of give me a little bit of trouble because when I'm doing my shading and then I go over it with either the RV00 or the RV02, it picks up a ton of pigment from the darker colors, which there's nothing inherently wrong with. It just means that I have to go back in with my darkest color and add it back in. She's got tons of fun little pleats on her dress, which are super cute and fun to color. Zoe from Make It Crafty has a ebook tutorial on coloring folds and pleats, which I would highly recommend. I used that and it helped me a ton. So it's the same thing. We're working darkest to lightest, lightest to darkest. I know that you guys aren't a huge fan of music, so I try to talk through these entire things. But when your video is 18 minutes long, you realize that you don't have 18 minutes of entertainment in you. Like you just don't. I try. So we're going to do the shading with the RV04, which is my second lightest color, and I really try to fan that out because your lightest color should be your highlight. The most of what you should have should be your two midtones. So in my case, in this dress, it's the RV04 and the RV06. I made her shoes pink as well because every girl should have matching shoes. And then I went back in, and like I said before, you have to add back in that dark to get that contrast. I don't know why it is that way. It just seems that way with the pinks for me. So since her shoes were so tiny, I decided I wasn't going to do them twice. I was just going to start in with the darkest color because pinks and reds are really hard to clean up and they bleed a lot. So I didn't want to risk it was going to be bleeding out into my blue sky. Her flower was super simple. I just basically colored it with, I used 3 different colors, but realistically I could have used 2 and it wouldn't have been a big deal. I colored in the center of her flower with the same yellows, which I completely forgot to show you for some reason. I don't know why. I used Y00, Y02, and Y08, and I'm doing the balloon in the same way. You'll see I'm leaving my outer edges of my balloon lighter, and this just helps it give it a more round appearance. Any object that you color, if you want it to look more 3D, if you leave a lighter edge on it, it will help give it that 3D appearance. So I'm doing the bow on the gift yellow, creating that visual triangle that I'm always talking about. So I've got the yellow in her flower, the balloon, and then her bow. Her gift, I'm going to do this blue-green color. I'm just trying to tie everything in because I knew from the beginning I wanted to do her wings a multicolor. So they're going to be pink, purple, and teal, that blue-green. I'm going to do the other balloon purple just to kind of tie everything together. Again, watch my videos. You know I talk about continuity of color and why that's, you shouldn't be putting so many colors in your image that it doesn't make sense. That's like just super busy and your eye doesn't know where to look. So these are the 3 colors I originally picked to do her wings with. I'm going to start with the pink closer to her, and then to the purple, and then to the blue-green. I don't really like the way the blue-green mixes into the pink, but I do like the way it mixes into the purple. I've colored fairy wings, I think, with this color combination a couple of different times, and I don't, for some reason, I guess that's just my preferred. Copics, the way that they blend is when they bleed into the paper, so this is a scenario where you want to be more heavy-handed. You want more ink on the paper to help them blend, especially when you're using different colors. When you're trying to pick something, if you're going to do a color blend like this, make sure that you're picking colors that are close to each other. And by that, like I picked a BG11, I picked a Violet 01, and I picked a RB02. So the two of them both end in one and one of them is in two. They just blend well together because they're kind of the same base. I felt like her wings had zero definition. So I'm going to go back in with some darker colors in the same family. This is a VO4, BG45, and the pink one I used I think was 06, RV06. And this is just to kind of set those things off. It doesn't really affect the blend any. Then, I don't know why, I add white dots to pretty much everything. Poor Kathy Rakusen. I mean, she started this thing, and then the rest of us just ran with it, just stole it right out from underneath her. But she was the first person I ever saw do that, so let us give credit where credit is due. This is Kathy's. I always outline all of my images. Again, something I learned from Kathy, who's totally amazing. And especially if you do the technique with the sky, that white acrylic paint is going to cover up any of your black lines. It's going to make them look milky and dull. So if you plan on doing that, make sure you have a black pen, Copic multi-liner, journaling pen, whatever, to outline your image so that you don't have that effect where the clouds are on top of your image. I used just a B00 to kind of outline her and make her pop off the page a little bit. You know, I'm a big fan of shadows, but I couldn't use shadows because she's in the sky. So I had to figure out another way to make her kind of pop off the page. I am using the Everyday Mini Sentiments from Whimsy Stamps, and I combine the congratulations and the my friend. Nina Marie just actually released her first stamps with Whimsy Stamps, and they're completely adorable, and I'm super excited for her because she's such a talented artist. And so my game plan is to send this to her in the mail. Nina, if you're watching and I don't actually send this in the mail, my apologies. I have good intentions. I do. I'm using clear Wink of Stella to give her wings, the present, and her eyes some shimmer. And then that is basically the card. You will see in the still photo I have added some sequins. It just felt like it needed a little something. Those are clear sequins from Pretty Pink Posh. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. I will see you in the next video. Bye.